I sat in that lawyer's office, my hands cold, my chest tight, as if I was waiting for a sentence I didn't deserve. My husband had been gone for 2 weeks, and I still hadn't stopped crying. But this moment wasn't about tears, it was about truth. His will was about to be read, and for the first time since he passed, I felt a strange fear creeping through me. The lawyer cleared his throat. "We'll begin now," he said. His voice echoed in the silent room. My husband's family sat across from me, his brother with his smug grin, his sister whispering behind her hand, and their children looking at me like vultures circling prey. He began reading line after line. The land, the accounts, the property. Every word cut through me because I realized quickly, the shares, the inheritance, most of it wasn't coming to me. And then, he paused. He looked at me differently. "There's also a private letter," he said, lifting a sealed envelope. My heart pounded. It had my name written on it. Only mine. I reached out with shaking fingers. The paper was rough, the ink smudged where he had pressed his pen too hard. For a second, I couldn't breathe. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about something deeper. I tore it open. The words inside made me freeze. My eyes blurred as I read, and a sound escaped my lips, half sob, half gasp. I sank back into my chair, clutching the paper like it could save me, though it was destroying me. The room spun. His family leaned forward, curious, hungry for drama, but I couldn't speak. Not yet. I just knew one thing. My husband had left me more than grief. He had left me a truth I wasn't prepared for. I'm glad you're here. If you're watching this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. That letter, that cursed letter. It whispered things that broke me in ways death alone never could. At first, I thought it was a love note, maybe a final apology, but as I read further, my chest tightened until I could barely breathe. "I was never the man you thought I was," he had written. "Forgive me for hiding this, but I could not face you when alive. Only in death can I say it." The words blurred as tears filled my eyes. His voice was in my head, trembling and guilty. I pressed my palm over my mouth to keep from screaming. Beside me, his sister hissed, "What is it? What did he write?" I couldn't answer. My throat was locked. The lawyer glanced at me gently. "Mrs. Rahman, you can read it in private if you wish." Private. Yes, because how could I tell them? How could I let the world know that my husband's last words weren't comfort, weren't love? They were confession? I stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. Their eyes burned into me, but I clutched the letter and stumbled out. Outside, the air felt like ice water. The world kept moving, cars honking, people laughing on the street. But my life had split open. I leaned against the wall, shaking, reading the words again and again. "You gave everything," he wrote. "You sacrificed your youth, your health, your dreams. But I was a coward. I could never give you what you gave me. My heart belonged elsewhere." My knees buckled. My husband, the man I cooked for, cleaned for, prayed for, had loved someone else. All those years, was I just a shadow in my own marriage? Memories came flooding. His long silences, his sudden anger, his nights away. I had brushed it all aside, told myself he was stressed, tired, busy, but the truth was darker. I whispered to myself, so it was never me. It was never me. That night, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the letter spread open under the light. His handwriting looked shaky, uneven, like guilt had guided the pen. I could still hear his voice in my head. I remembered one night years ago when I had asked him, "Am I enough for you?" And he had replied sharply, "Why do you always need reassurance? Stop asking foolish questions." Now, I knew why. The next morning, his brother came by. He didn't knock politely. He walked in like the house was already his. He smirked. "So, what did the old man leave you in that letter? Must be something important if you ran off like that." I stared at him, clutching the folded paper in my hand. It's none of your business, I said. He leaned closer, his breath sour. Everything is my business now. He's gone. You're just the widow. Don't act like you have power here. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the letter in his face, but instead, I just whispered, "You have no idea what power he gave me." He frowned. "What do you mean?" I turned away, not ready to reveal. Not yet. The letter burned inside me. Every word was a blade. But the worst part wasn't just that he had loved another. No, the worst part was the line near the end. I left something behind for the wrong son. I read it over and over. The wrong son? What did that mean? Which son? I clutched my head, confusion mixing with betrayal. My husband hadn't just hurt me. He had left a puzzle that could rip this family apart. And maybe that was his final revenge. That evening, my daughter called. Her voice trembled through the phone. "Mama, why did Uncle say you stormed out of the will reading? What happened?" I pressed the phone tight, my throat aching. "Your father left me a letter," I said. "What did it say?" she asked. I couldn't tell her. Not yet. She loved her father too much. She still believed he was a great man. So I lied. Just memories. Nothing important. But inside, my heart screamed, "How can I tell you your father betrayed us all?" The days that followed were heavy. His family grew bold, calling me greedy, accusing me of hiding assets. They thought I was weak, broken. But they didn't know the truth. They didn't know the storm in my hands. The letter wasn't just words. It was a key, a secret that could turn the whole inheritance upside down. And soon, I would use it. Because my husband may have broken me with his betrayal, but he also gave me something stronger than money. He gave me the truth. And the truth was about to burn everything down. I sat at the table all night, staring at the letter that refused to let me rest. My husband's words circled in my head like vultures. I left something behind, for the wrong son. What did that mean? Which son? And why would he write such a thing to me? The anger, the grief, the confusion, they all mixed together until my chest felt heavy. I pressed my forehead against the cool wood of the table and whispered, "After everything I gave, after everything I lost, this is what I get?" I thought back to the years I had built my life around him, the years when I had been more servant than wife. I remembered the early days when his family looked at me with cold eyes. His sister once sneered, "She's not good enough for him. She's just lucky he married her." I had smiled, pretending not to hear, but those words never left me. From the very beginning, I had been the outsider. And yet, I stayed. I worked, I cooked, I cleaned, I bent my back until I could barely stand straight. I kept the house shining, his clothes pressed, his meals ready, even when I was too weak to lift my own child in my arms. One night, after working a 12-hour shift just to pay the bills, I came home to find him sitting on the couch, his face buried in the newspaper. I said softly, "I'm so tired. I didn't even eat all day." He didn't look up. "You complain too much. Everyone's tired. Go make dinner." The knife cut deep, but I swallowed it. I told myself, he's stressed. He'll be kinder tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. Year after year, I carried his burdens. When his business failed, it was me who emptied my savings. When he was sick, I slept on the hospital floor for weeks. When his family mocked me, I lowered my head and stayed silent. I gave everything, my body, my time, my dreams. And what did he give me? A letter that felt like a slap across the face. One memory clawed at me more than the rest. It was the night my mother was dying. I begged him to take me to her. He shook his head. "We can't afford the trip. She'll understand." But she died before I could see her again. I cried for days, and when I told him I needed to be there, he shrugged and said, "It's over now. Stop living in the past." Those words broke something inside me, but I still stayed, because I thought loyalty was love. Now, sitting with this letter in my hands, I realized the truth. I had sacrificed everything for a man who saw me as nothing. The next morning, my daughter came into the kitchen. Her eyes were red from crying. She asked, "Mama, what are we going to do now? They're already fighting over the property." I tried to smile for her, but my lips trembled. "We'll manage. We always have." She looked at me carefully. "What did Father write in that letter? You're hiding something." I shook my head. "Not now. You wouldn't understand." Her voice rose. "Why won't you tell me? I deserve to know." I slammed my hand on the table without meaning to. "Because it will destroy you." She stepped back, her eyes wide. I closed my eyes, ashamed. "I'm sorry. I can't say it yet." That night, I dreamed of my younger self, full of hope, standing in my wedding dress. I had believed I was stepping into a future of love and respect, but the woman staring back at me now was unrecognizable. Wrinkles carved from worry, hands rough from endless work, heart heavy from decades of silence. I whispered to my reflection, "Who are you? What have you become?" The truth was, my sacrifices had been endless. When our son was little, he needed new shoes for school. My husband had said, "We can't afford it right now." So I sold my jewelry, the only gift my father had ever given me. I still remember the look on my son's face when he put on those shoes. He smiled so brightly. But I never told him what it cost me. Years later, when my husband wanted to buy land, he asked, "Do you still have those savings?" I nodded, though those savings were meant for my daughter's education. I handed them over, and she had to give up her dream of university, and he never even thanked me. I sat with the letter in my lap, whispering, "Why? Why was I never enough?" The words burned. My heart belonged elsewhere. I left something for the wrong son. Was he confessing love for another woman? Did he have another child I didn't know about? The thought made me sick. Later that week, his brother came again, pushing through the door without asking. He said, "Stop pretending you're in charge here. The land, the house, it's ours now." I looked him straight in the eyes. "You think you know everything, but you don't." He told me things he never told you. His eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" I clenched the letter in my fist. "When the time comes, you'll know." He sneered. "You're bluffing. He left you nothing." I whispered, "Sometimes nothing is worth more than everything." That night, I sat by the window, watching the moon. My chest felt like stone. I remembered how many times I had stood in that same spot, waiting for him to come home. Sometimes he came drunk. Sometimes he came angry. Sometimes he didn't come at all. And every time, I told myself, he's my husband. It's my duty to stand by him. But what about my duty to myself? I thought of my children sleeping in their rooms. They had seen me suffer, but they had also seen me stay strong. Maybe too strong. Maybe I had taught them that love meant silence, that sacrifice meant survival. I didn't want them to inherit that lesson. So I whispered into the night, "No more. I won't be silent anymore." The days blurred, but one feeling grew stronger. Anger, not just at him, but at myself, for all the times I gave in, for all the times I let his family step on me, for all the dreams I buried. I remembered once telling him, I wanted to study more, maybe become a teacher. He laughed. "And who will cook my dinner if you're busy teaching children?" I laughed too, pretending it was funny. But inside, a piece of me died. Now I saw clearly. My life had been built on sacrifice, and his final act was betrayal. But maybe, just maybe, that betrayal was also a gift, because it opened my eyes. I read the letter one last time that night. My tears fell on the paper, smudging the ink. I whispered, "You took everything from me, but you also gave me one last thing, freedom." And as the dawn broke, I knew my life was about to change. The moment I found that folded piece of paper under the bed, My heart sank. It wasn't just any note. It carried a weight that pressed on my chest, a weight I wasn't ready to face. My hands shook as I opened it, the words scribbled in haste, as if written by someone desperate to hide the truth. It read, "The wrong son has been trusted. The real betrayal hides in plain sight." I froze. What did that even mean? Was this about my family? My sons? Or was it a cruel joke? But deep down, I knew it wasn't a joke. It was a confession. Someone inside this house was not who I believed them to be. I knew this day would come. My mother's voice echoed in my memory, words she once whispered when I ignored her warnings. One child will rise to protect you, and the other will destroy everything. The note confirmed what I had always been afraid to admit. I held the note tight and stormed to the living room, where both my sons were sitting. They looked so different in that moment, one calm, quiet, with his eyes glued to the television, the other restless, hifting, tapping his feet as though his heart carried a secret storm. I asked, "Which one of you wrote this?" They looked at me, stunned. "What are you talking about, Father?" said Amir, the eldest, his voice steady, almost too steady. The younger one, Rayhan, frowned. "What note? Why are you blaming us?" But I saw it. That flicker of fear in Rayhan's eyes, or was it guilt? I couldn't be sure. My mind twisted with doubt. Narration flowed like a storm in my head. I thought of every moment, every sacrifice I had made for these two boys. I worked day and night, carrying bricks, sweating under the sun, just to raise them with dignity. I gave them education, clothes, everything I never had. And now a piece of paper threatened to shatter all of it. "Don't lie to me," I said firmly. "This handwriting is from someone in this house. Who was the wrong son? Who betrayed me?" Silence fell. Even the ticking clock on the wall seemed louder than their breaths. Finally, Amir spoke. "Maybe someone is trying to trick you. Maybe this isn't about us at all." But his calmness scared me more than Rayhan's nervousness. It felt rehearsed, like he had prepared for this day. That night, I couldn't sleep. I held the note under my pillow, staring at the ceiling. Every shadow looked like betrayal. Every sound felt like a warning. I remembered the nights I stayed hungry, just so my sons could eat. I remembered how I sold my only piece of land to send Amir to college. And I remembered how Rayhan once cried when he saw me bleeding from work and promised he'd never let me suffer again. Whose promise was true? Whose smile was fake? At dawn, I heard whispers near the kitchen. I crept closer, heart pounding. Amir's voice. "We can't let him find out. If he does, everything will collapse." Rayhan's voice. "I told you not to write that note. He's already suspicious." My knees went weak. The note wagged, as theirs, together. I stepped forward and they froze, their faces drained of color. "So it was you," I said. Rayhan stammered. "It's not what you think, Father." "Then tell me," I demanded. "What is the secret of this note?" The air grew heavy. For the first time, both my sons looked at each other like enemies, not brothers. Amir spoke first, his voice sharp. "Father, Rayhan is the one who has been stealing from you. He takes money from your drawer. He's been meeting people you wouldn't approve of." Rayhan's eyes widened. "That's a lie. Amir wrote the note to frame me. He's the one planning to take the house. He's already talking to lawyers behind your back." I felt dizzy. The walls seemed to close in, both of them, my blood, my pride, now tearing each other apart. And me? I was the fool caught in their storm. "Enough!" I shouted. "One of you is lying, maybe both, but this note is the knife you placed in my heart." For days, tension grew inside the house. We ate in silence. We avoided each other's eyes. Yet I kept the note hidden in my pocket, as if it could guide me to the truth. One night, Rayhan came into my room, his face pale. "Father," he whispered, "Amir isn't who you think he is. Check his drawer. You'll see everything." He left before I could ask more. I hesitated, but finally opened Amir's drawer the next day. Inside, I found documents, property papers, contracts. My name was fading from them, replaced by his. Tears filled my eyes. So this is it. My sacrifice turned into his greed. But before I could confront him, Amir appeared at the door. "You weren't supposed to see that yet," he said coldly. The mask had fallen. He no longer pretended. "All these years," Amir continued, "you gave everything to me. You believed in me. But it was never enough. You still treated Rehan as your favorite. That note was my warning, Father. You trusted the wrong son." I asked in disbelief, "So it was you? You wrote it?" He smirked. "Yes, and you were too blind to see. I am the son who will destroy you, not Prota Aq." The words pierced me deeper than any blade. I staggered back, clutching the wall. At that moment, Rehan entered, eyes blazing. "You monster!" he shouted. "You've been poisoning Father's heart all along. You wanted him to doubt me so you could steal everything." Amir laughed. "And you think you're innocent? You were too weak, too soft. Father never saw it, but I did. You'll never survive without him. That's why you'll always lose." The fight that followed was not of fists, but of words, sharper than knives. Rehan pleaded, "Father, believe me. I may not be perfect, but I would never betray you." Amir sneered. "He's lying. He'll only drag you down with his failures. I am your true son. I am the one who can carry this family forward." I stood there, torn apart, my chest heavy with pain. 2 sons, 1 heart, 1 truth. And then something inside me broke. I raised the note high and shouted, "This cursed paper has revealed everything. One son wanted to protect me, the other to destroy me. But the real betrayal is not who wrote it. The betrayal is that you made me doubt my own blood." The house shook with silence. My voice echoed in every corner. Amir's face turned pale. For the first time, his confidence cracked. Rehan's eyes filled with tears, but they were not of guilt. They were of pain. I turned to Amir and said, "You are the wrong son. You are the one who betrayed not just me, but this family's soul." Rehan rushed forward, holding my hand. "Father, I'm still here. I'll stand by you no matter what." Amir's fists clenched. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard that the walls shook. That night, I sat with Rehan, the note burning in my hand. I fed it to the fire, watching the flames consume every word. "Some secrets," I whispered, "should never have been written." Rehan nodded, tears running down his face. "Father, we'll rebuild. Without him, but with honesty. That's all that matters now." As the flames faded, I felt both broken and free. The note's secret had destroyed one son, but revealed the truth of another. And in that painful clarity, I finally understood what my mother had meant. One child will rise, and the other will destroy. The prophecy was true. The night Amir stormed out, slamming the door so hard the walls trembled, I sat frozen in my chair. My body felt heavy, but my heart felt heavier. Rehan stayed beside me, his hand resting on mine, trying to be the strength I didn't have. Yet the silence in that house screamed louder than any words. It screamed betrayal. It screamed failure. I whispered to myself, how did it come to this? How did I raise the wrong son? Rehan leaned closer. Father, don't blame yourself. You gave him everything. He chose this path, not you. But I couldn't accept it. Every sacrifice I had made felt wasted. Every drop of sweat I spilled building a life for my sons now seemed like water thrown into sand. Amir had thrown away my trust like trash. The following days felt like walking through a nightmare. Amir didn't return, but his shadow lingered in every corner. I couldn't shake the image of his smirk, the way he declared himself my enemy. It played in my head like a broken record. At the dinner table, I barely touched my food. Rehan watched me, worried. You need to eat, Father, he said softly. I can't, I replied, my voice hoarse. Every bite feels poisoned. My own blood poisoned my heart. Rehan lowered his head. I don't know what hurts more, that he betrayed you or that he's my brother. That broke me even more. I wanted to protect both my sons, to believe in them equally, but the truth was clear now. One had chosen love, the other greed. One evening, I heard the gate creak. My heart jumped, thinking Amir had returned. But when I stepped outside, I saw him, standing there, looking sharp, confident, and cold. "Why are you here?" I asked, voice trembling. He smirked. "I came to collect what's mine." Rehan rushed out behind and me. "You have no right to be here. You betrayed father. Leave before you what?" Amir cut him off, laughing bitterly. "You're nothing without him. You think you'll inherit everything? Think again." I stepped forward, voice shaking but firm. "Amir, you've already taken enough from me. Don't come back. You are no longer welcome in this house." His eyes burned with rage. "You'll regret this. Both of you." He turned and walked away, but his words stayed behind like thorns in my chest. That night, I couldn't stop trembling. My body refused to rest. Rehan sat beside me, reading verses softly, trying to calm my heart, but my mind was racing. I kept hearing Amir's threat. "You'll regret this." I whispered, "What if he destroys us, Rehan? What if he takes everything I built?" Rehan squeezed my hand. "Then we'll build again. Together. He may have your blood, but he doesn't have your heart." Those words were a balm, but deep inside, a storm brewed. I felt myself breaking piece by piece. Days turned into weeks. Amir didn't return, but rumors did. Neighbors whispered that he was seen at the lawyer's office, that he was preparing papers to claim the house. My house. The house I bled to build. One afternoon, a letter arrived. My hands shook as I opened it. It was official. Amir had filed a case, demanding half the property. My knees buckled, and I collapsed into a chair. Rehan rushed over. "What is it, father?" I handed him the paper. His face darkened with anger. "He won't stop until he takes everything from us." Tears blurred my vision. "Why, Rehan? Why is my own son doing this to me?" He put his arm around me. "Because he doesn't see you as a father anymore. He only sees wealth." That was the moment I felt something inside me crack. My heart couldn't carry the weight anymore. That night, I broke down completely. I cried in a way I hadn't cried since I was a child. My body shook with every sob, my chest ached, and I begged the walls for answers. Rehan found me on the floor, clutching the note that started it all. "Father, please don't do this to yourself," he pleaded. I looked up at him, tears streaming down my face. I gave him everything. I starved so he could eat. I worked through fevers so he could study. And now he spits in my face. "Tell me, Rehan, was I such a fool?" Rehan knelt beside me, his own eyes wet. "You weren't a fool. You were a father. You loved blindly, and that's what fathers do. Don't blame yourself for his darkness." His words touched me, but they couldn't erase the pain. That night, I realized I had reached my breaking point. In the following days, anger began to replace my sorrow. I could no longer sit quietly while Amir tried to destroy me. I gathered every document, every piece of evidence of what I had sacrificed for this family. I was ready to fight. Rehan noticed the change in me. "Father, what are you planning?" I looked him in the eyes. "If Amir wants war, he will have it. I may be old, but I'm not weak. He will learn that betrayal has a price." Rehan's face showed both pride and fear. "Just promise me you won't let anger consume you. We can fight without losing ourselves." I nodded, but deep inside, I knew the fire had already started to consume me. One evening, Amir returned again, this time with papers in his hand. He threw them on the table. "Sign it," he ordered coldly. "Give me my share." Rehan snapped, "You have no shame. Father owes you nothing." Amir glared at him. "Stay out of this. This is between me and father." I picked up the papers, my hands steady now. "Amir, look at me. Look into my eyes and tell me you see your father. Do you?" He looked away. "That's what I thought," I said, my voice breaking. Because you don't see me anymore. You only see money." Rehan shouted, "Get out!" But I stopped him. "No, let him hear me." I turned back to Amir. "You are the wrong son, not because of blood, but because of choice. You see, hoes greed over family, lies over love. I may be broken, but I will not bend to you." Amir's face twisted with rage. "You'll regret this." He stormed out once again, leaving the papers on the table. That night, Rehan sat with me in silence. We didn't need words. The war had begun, and both of us knew it. I whispered to him, "This house is more than bricks. It's my life, my sacrifice. I won't let him take it." Rehan nodded. "And I'll fight beside you, Father, until the end." In that moment, though my heart was shattered, I felt a small flame of strength return. I was broken, yes, but sometimes breaking is the only way to rise stronger. This was my breaking point, and I would not let it end me. The day Amir returned, the air felt heavy before he even stepped inside. I could sense it, like a storm rolling in. Rehan and I had been preparing quietly, gathering papers, strengthening our resolve. But nothing prepared me for the fire in Amir's eyes as he pushed the door open without knocking. He didn't greet us. He didn't even look around. He walked straight into the living room and dropped a thick folder on the table. The sound echoed sharp and final. "Sign it," he demanded. My heart clenched, but I refused to show fear. "Amir, you walk into my home like a stranger. Do you even remember this house was built with my hands?" He smirked, leaning back in the chair. "Your hands built it, but your blood flows in me. That makes it mine. I'm not asking, Father. I'm taking what belongs to me." Rehan's face burned with anger. "You disgust me. After everything he gave you, you still want more." Amir turned sharply, eyes cold. "Stay out of this, Rehan. This is between me and him." I raised my voice, sharper than I ever had. "Enough, both of you." The room went silent, but my chest heaved. The confrontation I dreaded had finally arrived. For weeks, Amir had haunted us with threats, with letters, with shadows of betrayal. Now he was here, ready to tear apart what little remained of our family. I looked at him, really looked at him, and for a brief second I saw the boy I once carried on my shoulders. But that boy was gone. In his place stood a man with greed in his veins. I asked quietly, "Do you even see me as your father anymore?" He didn't blink. "You're just an obstacle now. Sign the papers and I'll walk away. Refuse and I'll destroy you in court." Rehan exploded. "Destroy him? He gave you life. He gave you everything." Amir sneered. "Spare me the speeches. He gave me crumbs while keeping the feast for himself and his favorite son. You." The words cut me. I turned to Amir, shaking my head. "You call yourself the wronged one? You had the same food, the same clothes, the same roof. I broke my back so you wouldn't feel less than anyone. How dare you rewrite the past?" His voice rose, venomous. "Because the truth hurts. You chose Rehan long ago. I was always the shadow, the afterthought." Rehan stepped forward. "That's a lie. Father never chose. You're the one who chose greed." Their voices clashed like thunder, and I felt my chest tighten. I raised my hand. "Stop this. This isn't a fight between brothers. This is a fight between greed and loyalty." Amir leaned across the table, eyes burning. "Then prove your loyalty, Father. Give me what I want. Sign it and end this." I steadied my breath. "You want me to choose between sons? Fine. I choose honor. I choose the son who stands beside me, not the one who spits on me." The silence that followed was heavy. Rehan's jaw tightened, but Amir's face twisted with fury. "You'll regret this," he hissed, pounding the table with his fist. I stood tall, though my knees trembled. "The only regret I carry is raising you to believe love could be bought with money. Leave, Amir. You're no longer welcome here." For the first time his voice cracked. "You'll pay for this, Father. You and your precious Rehan." He stormed out, the sound of the door slamming behind him shaking the walls again. But this time, I didn't collapse. This time, I stood firm. Rayhan turned to me, voice soft. "Father, are you sure you can handle this war?" I nodded slowly. "I've carried heavier burdens. If Amir wants to fight, I'll fight. But I won't fight with hate. I'll fight with truth." Still, inside me, my heart bled. That confrontation had torn me open. Seeing my own son glare at me like an enemy was a wound I wasn't sure would ever heal. The next morning, Amir returned, not alone this time. He came with 2 men in suits, lawyers, their briefcases heavy with weapons made of paper. They sat across from us, their eyes cold, their voices sharp. "Mr. Khan," one of them began, "your son has a legal right to half this property. If you refuse to settle peacefully, we'll proceed with court action." Rayhan slammed his hand on the table. "This house is not just property, it's our life. You can't reduce it to numbers on paper." Amir smirked. "Watch us." I held up my hand, calming Rayhan. "Let him speak." I turned to Amir. "Tell me, Amir, do you think dragging me into court will give you peace?" He leaned back. "Peace doesn't matter. Victory does." I closed my eyes for a moment. When I opened them, my voice was steady. "Then I'll see you in court. But remember this, no lawyer can erase truth, and no judge can erase blood. You may win papers, but you'll lose me forever." The lawyers gathered their files, but Amir stayed a moment longer. He looked at me with something almost like doubt in his eyes, but then it was gone, replaced by coldness. He left, and the silence that followed was suffocating. That night, Rayhan sat with me in the quiet. "Father, do you think he'll really go through with it?" I sighed. "He already has. The confrontation is no longer at our table. It's in the courts now. But I'll battle isn't with lawyers. It's with my own heart." Rayhan looked at me carefully. "Do you regret it?" Telling him he was the wrong son, tears filled my eyes. Every word hurt me as much as it hurt him. But sometimes truth is the only weapon we have. The following week, papers arrived. Court summons. My hands shook as I held them, but I didn't crumble. I looked at Rayhan. "It begins." He placed a hand on my shoulder. "Then we fight together." The first court hearing was brutal. Amir sat across from me, eyes cold, his lawyers painting me as unfair, biased, greedy. They twisted my sacrifices into accusations, my silence into guilt. Rayhan whispered, "Don't let them break you, Father." When it was my turn, I stood, voice trembling but strong. "I am not here to fight my son. I am here to defend my life's work. Every brick of that house was laid with my sweat. Every corner holds my sacrifice. And yet the son I loved now calls me his enemy. Tell me, Your Honor, what justice can heal a father's broken heart?" The courtroom was silent. Even Amir shifted uncomfortably. After the hearing, outside the courthouse, Amir approached. For the first time in weeks, his voice lowered. "You didn't have to humiliate me like that." I turned to him, my chest aching. "I didn't humiliate you, Amir. You did that yourself. I only spoke the truth." He clenched his jaw. "You think the truth will save you? We'll see." Rayhan stepped between us. "You've already lost, Amir. Not the case, maybe, but you've lost your family, and that's worse than losing property." Amir glared, then walked away. But I noticed something. His steps weren't as steady as before. Doubt had crept in. Back home, I collapsed onto the chair, exhausted. Rayhan poured me water. "Father, today you showed strength I didn't know you had." I smiled weakly. Strength comes when there's nothing left to lose. But deep inside, I prayed Amir would see beyond his rage before it was too late. Days passed. Hearings continued. Each time, Amir came with anger. I came with patience. Each time he threw venom, I answered with truth. But the weight was crushing me. My body was old, my heart fragile. Yet I endured. Until one evening, Amir came alone. No lawyers, no papers, just him. He stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. Rehan rose immediately. "What do you want now?" Amir raised his hand. "I just want to talk." I gestured for him to sit. He hesitated, then slowly lowered himself into the chair. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then he said, "Do you really think I'm the wrong son?" The question pierced me. I swallowed hard. "Amir, being a son is not about blood. It's about choices. You chose greed. That makes you the wrong son. For now. But you can still choose differently." His eyes glistened for a second, then hardened again. "We'll see in court." He stood and left, leaving me torn between hope and despair. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The confrontation wasn't just with Amir. It was with myself. Could I forgive him if he changed? Could I heal the wound he had cut so deep? Rehan's voice drifted from the other room, steady and calm, and I realized the battle wasn't over. But neither was my love. Even at my breaking point, even in confrontation, love still lived. The house felt different after Amir left that night. The walls still echoed with his threats. But there was something else too, a strange quiet, almost like the air itself was holding its breath. Rehan stayed close, moving through the rooms like a guard, but I could see the worry in his eyes. I sat at the table, staring at the papers the lawyers had left behind. They were heavy in my hands, not because of the ink on them, but because of the weight of betrayal. For years, I had dreamed of both my sons standing side by side, carrying my name forward with pride. Instead, one was ready to burn it all for greed. Rehan broke the silence. "Father, you haven't eaten since morning. At least have some bread." I pushed the plate away. "How can I eat, Rehan, when my own son is tearing us apart? Food cannot fill the emptiness inside me." He sat down across from me, his eyes steady. "Then let me say what you need to hear. You're not alone. You still have me." Those words pierced me. They should have comforted me, but instead they filled me with guilt. Was I clinging to one son while losing the other? Did Amir fall into darkness because I failed to guide him? The next morning, the sun rose pale and cold. For the first time in weeks, I stepped outside. The fresh air stung my face, but I needed it. As I walked through the small garden, my heart whispered, maybe it's not too late. Maybe even the wrong son can find his way back. But that hope shattered when Rehan came running toward me with a letter in his hand. His face was pale. "Father, you need to see this." The letter was short, but sharp. "Withdraw your defense, or I'll destroy you in court and in life. Signed, Amir." I felt the ground shift beneath me, my own blood promising to destroy me. Rehan's voice shook. "How can he be this cruel? What happened to him?" I closed my eyes. Greed happened. But maybe there's still a way to wake him before it's too late. Days turned into weeks. Court sessions dragged on, each one colder than the last. Amir's lawyers twisted truth into lies, painting me as selfish and unfair. Rehan stood by me, but I could see the weight pressing on him too. One evening after court, as we walked home, Rehan finally said what had been burning inside him. "Father, why do you keep hoping for him? He doesn't deserve your forgiveness." I stopped walking, leaning on my cane. "Because he's still my son. A father doesn't stop loving, even when love turns to pain." Rehan looked at me, his voice rising. "And what about me? Do I have to keep proving I'm the right son while he keeps spitting on you?" His waboil. Ord struck me hard. I reached for his shoulder. "Rehan, you've never had to prove anything. You've already given me more than I deserve. But if I give up on Amir completely, I give up on myself too." His eyes softened, but the storm remained. Then came the turning point. One night, close to midnight, there was a knock at the door. Rehan tensed instantly. "Don't open it. It's him." But I knew I had to. When I pulled the door open, Amir stood there alone. No lawyers, no papers, just him, drenched from the rain. His eyes darted around, avoiding mine. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside silently. Rayhan stood at the corner, fists clenched. Amir spoke first. "Father, why did you call me the wrong son?" The question hit me like a blade. I took a deep breath. Because in that moment, Amir, you were. Not because of who you are, but because of what you chose. You chose greed over love. His voice cracked. Do you know how it feels to believe you were never enough? To think your brother was always the better one? Rayhan cut in, furious. That's not true. You had everything I had. You just wanted more. Amir turned on him. You always acted like the hero, Rayhan. Father's favorite. The chosen one. I raised my voice. Stop. Both of you. This isn't about who I loved more. I loved you both. But love is not measured in inheritance or land. It's measured in respect. And you, Amir, you threw that respect away. His shoulders slumped, but he didn't argue. The room grew heavy with silence. For the first time, Amir looked smaller, less certain. I saw a flicker of the boy he once was. I asked softly, "Why are you here, Amir? To fight or to listen?" He swallowed hard. To listen. My heart ached at those words. Maybe, just maybe, this was the new dawn I had been waiting for. Over the next days, things shifted. Amir still went to court, but his fire was dimmer. He avoided my yes, avoided Rayhan's too. Then one morning his lawyer arrived alone, announcing Amir had withdrawn part of his claim. Rayhan was shocked. He's backing down. I nodded slowly. Not all the way, but it's a start. Rayhan frowned. You still trust him, don't you? I sighed. I trust the chance of change. Sometimes that's all we have. The final court hearing came. The judge looked tired of our case, tired of the endless back and forth. Amir's lawyer stood, but this time his tone was softer. He presented fewer demands. Then Amir stood. His voice shook. Your Honor, I no longer wish to pursue half the property. I only ask for my share in peace. Rayhan whispered. He's lying. He's playing another trick. But I looked at Amir, and for the first time, I saw no greed in his eyes, just exhaustion. When it was my turn, I stood tall. Your Honor, I have no wish to fight my son any longer. If he chooses peace, then I will choose forgiveness. The courtroom went silent. That evening, back at home, Amir came again. This time, without hesitation, he sat across from me. I didn't come to win, he said quietly. I came to test if you still loved me. And you did. Even when I gave you nothing but pain. Tears filled my eyes. Because love doesn't die, Amir. It bends, it breaks, but it doesn't die. You almost destroyed me, but you are still my son. Rayhan's voice broke. And what about me? Do I not matter? I turned to him, my heart splitting. You matter more than you know. You stood by me when I had nothing left. You gave me strength when I was ready to fall. You are the son who carried my burden. And Amir, I turned back to him. You are the son who taught me the cost of forgetting what matters. Amir's voice cracked. Can I ever be forgiven? I reached across the table, my hand trembling. Forgiveness is already yours. But trust, you must earn it back. He lowered his head, tears spilling. For the first time in months, we sat together, all three of us. No shouting, no threats, just silence. But this silence was different. It was fragile, like the first light of dawn after a long night. Rayhan eventually spoke. I don't know if I can trust you, Amir. But for Father's sake, I'll try. Amir nodded, voice breaking. That's all I ask. And so, a new chapter began. The wounds were deep, the scars permanent. Nothing could erase the pain of betrayal, the nights of court battles, the words that could never be taken back. But somewhere in the middle of all that, hope returned. I realized then that families are not built on perfection. They are built on breaking, healing, and trying again. As I looked at my two sons, one scarred by greed, the other scarred by loyalty, I whispered to myself, "This is my new dawn, fragile, imperfect, but mine."